If you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how? Everybody's choking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, loud. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter, he's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stacked that he knows when he goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go back to this moment and hope it don't pass him.
Listen, we can talk about the flag, but let's talk about the Wait.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media Live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Share it out, retweet it out, and make sure you hit that thumbs up on YouTube if you want to get involved in the conversation today. And there's a lot of conversation to be had today. Make sure you head over to our YouTube page, DSM Media. Just search out DSM Media, search out Trending in the AM, and join the conversation. Put your comments, questions, thoughts, concerns, frustrations, venting on the screen as we break down the complete embarrassment that was the Sixers game last night against the Miami Heat. We're also going to talk Phillies today as well. Maybe we have some special guests. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. I'm frustrated. I'm upset. I put a lot of energy and effort into my daily life, into these shows, into my work, into everything I do. And yet the Sixers can't show up and put out an 80% effort in a basketball game, in a Game 5 playoff game last night. I am your host, Phil Stifel, at Beard of Knowledge. Shoot me a Twitter, follow on Twitter if you'd like. My main man right here, Jason Voorhees, half awake, half asleep, at Mustang3651. He was out late, trying to be a young, youthful person, going to a concert late last night. He's suffering. He's struggling today, but he's putting out effort. He's putting out effort. He doesn't want to embarrass himself. You know, Jason, how you doing this morning?
Doing all right, man. Yeah, the body starts failing you, man, when you hit your 40s. It's definitely true. Yeah. I feel like I got hit by a bus. Other than that, I'm doing a lot better than the Sixers, and I'm actually doing a lot better than you because I happened to see, while I was at the concert, I saw a lot of your live tweets, and I could tell you were not happy. And you were fired up, so there's a lot to talk about today, and I'm sure you got a lot.
Like I said, I put effort out in my day. You're putting out effort being here this morning, you know, when you could just be sleeping a little extra, getting caught up, you know. And I put this out as a tweet after the game last night, and this here, right here, sums up everything. You know, the Sixers lose last night 120-85. Championship caliber teams do not lose by 35 points in the playoffs. It's one thing if it's game 37 and they just, you know, whatever, had an off night. Game 5 of the playoffs, 2-2. 84% of teams that win game 5 in a 2-2 series in NBA history go on to win the series. You do not come out and lose by 35. Now, we got lots of people to talk about the blame, and there's blame to go all around. But as a team, as an individual, you better be freaking embarrassed. Joel Embiid, we're going to talk about the specifics. Should be embarrassed. James Harden, you know, the story comes out yesterday about how he dropped $1 million in a strip club once down in Houston and his jersey hangs in the rafters. James Harden should be embarrassed. That strip club better pull that jersey from the rafters because it's embarrassing. Glenn Rivers, because he's no longer Doc to me. He's just Glenn Rivers. He doesn't deserve the nickname Doc. Glenn Rivers should be embarrassed. Tyrese Maxey should be embarrassed. Every single person up and down that lineup should be embarrassed. And there's no way you can call yourself a championship team or a contender if you plan on losing by 35 points in a playoff game. It just doesn't happen. It's a straight embarrassment. I'm frustrated.
I
We got hyped up. We all believed. We were all buying into the game 3 and 4 hype. And I think rightfully so.
mean,
you don't.
just yesterday, you and I both were very high on it. We actually both thought that the Sixers would win Game 5. Not only did they not win, they shit the bed. And you nailed it. Doc Rivers, he ain't no doctor. The only surgery he's performing is on all of our hearts because we're gonna have heart attacks from the friggin' the terrible coaching performances that he continually puts
No,
up.
I didn't have no heart attack because there's no reason to have a heart attack last night. I was dying from heartache. Heartache, not a heart attack. Because again, how do you not get your team prepared or mentally, physically ready to play a Game 5 in the NBA playoffs? How is you a player? Do you need your coach to mentally prepare yourself to play a Game 5? This kind of stuff, this just goes to show. We might predict tomorrow that the next game that the Sixers will win Game 6 and force a Game 7. Because so far, the home team has won every game. We might come up with narratives to convince ourselves that the Sixers will win Game 6. And I think they'll be valid narratives. What's up, man? How you doing this morning? Thanks for checking in. We might come up with the good narratives. But realistically speaking, even if we win Game 6, could we win Game 7? I doubt it. But if we do, a team that can't beat or can't keep it within 35 points against the Miami Heat, who we all agree are not that great of a team. They're a really good team, but they're not a great team. How are you going to beat the Bucks in a best-of-7 series? How are you going to beat the Celtics in a best-of-7 series? Hell, just God forbid we made it to the finals. The Phoenix Suns or the Golden State Warriors. God, we'll get destroyed by 35 in every single one of those games. This is an embarrassment. An embarrassment. An embarrassment.
And Phil, I mean, I really, you pretty much done a mic drop. I really can't have a kind of rant that you had. And as I said, I was at a concert, so I didn't see any of the game. I didn't even see a highlight. So I'm only looking at a box score. So, sometimes it's a little tough to navigate just looking at numbers. But
let me navigate it for you.
Well, what I could say by looking at box scores, and it's not at even just this game, it's actually been this entire postseason for the Sixers in a nutshell. In my opinion, and this is where you have to look at Daryl Morey as being part of the problem. The Sixers are extremely top heavy. If you I'm looking at the Miami Heat, their box score. They have balanced scoring. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They had 7 guys with over 10 points or more. The Sixers might not have had 7 guys with 10 points in the whole freaking postseason in a game. And that to me signals a part of the major problem for the Sixers. Like I said, the roster is constructed extremely top heavy. You have Joel Embiid. You have James Harden, who we don't know if he'll ever be the James Harden of old. He's shown 1 game so far since he's been here. And we have Tobias Harris and Maxey every other day. Other than that, like, this roster,
it's bad.
It's bad. And the bench is even worse.
Who's been pounding the table about that?
I know. And you know what? I think a lot of us have ignored that. We've tried to push it aside like it didn't matter. But it's coming, it's rearing its ugly head right now because you're just going to see it. Like, if Joel and Harden have a bad game like they did last night, which we don't see that a lot from Joel. I mean, I know you're going to get into
Let's dive into the Joel bad game, okay? Because that's something I really want to talk a lot about, okay? Joel Embiid had a bad game. There's no doubt about it. He's being held together by Scotch tape. He's got torn ligament in his shin, and they actually the TNT broadcast is god awful. I mean, it's just straight trash. Now the halftime and the pre and post game show, I like Kenny Smith, Shaq, Charles Barkley, and them normally. Now we're gonna get into that part of it in a second, but the game broadcast is normally trash. They did zoom in on one of Joel Embiid's shots, and you saw an awkward side, like the motion that he shoots with normally, you saw a different spin coming off of the ball. And it was on a shot that kind of half went down and then came back out because of the rotation on the ball. That's, to me, telling me that hand is bothering him. Like, everybody said it wasn't going to bother him on the shot. It was only going to bother him on passing, on defense, and things like that. That tells me that hand's really bothering him. Because that side spin, that doesn't happen with Joel Embiid. That's him compensating on his shot. So his hand is bothering him. He's got a broken freaking face. He got smashed with a ball. I know you didn't see it. I know you just watched the replay before we went live. So this really annoys me. So a ball gets blocked into his face, okay? Pushed right down to his broken freaking face, okay? When you watch, I'm like, oh, man, where was the foul? Then you watch the replay. There actually clearly was no foul. But the problem is, in real time, in real game speed, there's no way the refs didn't think that was definitely not a foul. Where is Joel Embiid's respect? If that was James Harden getting a ball smashed in his face, if that was Giannis Antetokounmpo getting a ball smashed in his face, and it was a borderline whether it was foul, if that was, name any other major, if that was Nikolai Jokic getting a ball smashed in his face, the refs call the foul because they give the superstar the benefit of the doubt. Joel Embiid, still at this point in his career, does not get the benefit of the doubt. And that's something that frustrates me. Because, dude, there was a point there where he was on the ground in pain. I thought that was it. I thought he was done. I mean, that mask could only, the point of the mask is to deflect the impact so it doesn't get all felt in one spot. It don't matter where. There was nowhere to deflect that impact. It was straight right on, the entire face there. It really annoys me that he did not get any benefit of the doubt there. But that's beside the point. The fact that he was still playing through that pain, the amount of pain he is playing through right now. I'm not giving him an excuse to coming out with no energy last night, but it's got to have an effect on him. When you are playing with that much pain, it's got to hurt. It's got to be in the back of your head all the time. I work with a bad back all the time. It affects me.
Well, here's my question. So I heard that Charles Barkley was kind of
yeah, we were going to get to that in a second. Yeah.
Okay, so I if Charles is bashing him, was the effort at least there? Because to me, if the effort was there, how could you say
the whole entire team played with a lack of effort last night?
So then what Barkley's comments were maybe a little valid? You think Embiid was bothered?
Barkley's comments weren't about the pain and whatever. Charles Barkley basically said at the halftime, show that Joel Embiid was sulking because he didn't win the MVP. Charles Barkley basically said, well, if Joel Embiid won the MVP, he would have played better, but because he didn't, he just didn't care. He was mad. Joel Embiid cares about those individual awards, but he doesn't really. That had
but
nothing.
You think it's true? Was he sulking?
No, I don't think it was true. I just think there's only so much pain tolerance a human being can handle.
So you think? So what I'm getting from what you're saying is that you firmly believe that the reason he's not playing well is because of the injuries.
Yeah, well, it's not even the injuries themselves. It's the amount of effort that it takes to what's the word I'm looking at? When you're in pain and you're trying to block out the pain, to push forward and push through. The amount of effort and energy it takes to just do that alone is draining.
Well, so here's where I'm at with that, because I agree with you. I actually happen to agree with you. Where the frick is the rest of the team? Like, so James Harden put on one game, and I was his biggest fan. I said, it's very possible that he could have another game like that. And he comes out and has maybe his worst game. Like, what is wrong with this team? What is wrong with these guys?
When I look at the box score and I saw James Harden had 13 shots, I was like, where? I don't even remember seeing James Harden take 10 shots. Like, James Harden was a complete ghost last night. 2 games ago, James Harden looked like Houston Harden. Last night, James Harden looked like Hall of Fame, already retired for 5 years, James Harden.
Where's Maxey?
Never even got the ball in his hands. And when he did, again, I talked about it when I ran solo, and I talked about it some other shows. James Harden dribbles the ball till there's 2 seconds left in the shot clock. and then passes it to other people, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, and they're forced to jack up these awful, super difficult, shots with hands in their face because they're not getting the ball till there's 2 seconds left in the shot clock.
Maxey
So
was 2 of 10.
yeah, but again, I would say 3 or 4 of those shots weren't even his fault because he's getting the ball. There's multiple times where he's got to put this super high 90-degree angle arc on a shot because he's getting the ball with 1 second left because James Harden realized there's nothing he can do. And James Harden doesn't want to miss the shot, so he gives it to Maxey and lets Maxey miss the shot. Tobias Harris.
Could they run this offense a different way?
Tobias Harris had 2 air balls last night.
It's game 6, right? You're the coach.
Yeah.
I'm
going to cut you off. No, you don't change anything.
Okay.
I know where you're going with that question. Game 6 of the second round of the playoffs, you don't make changes. You just don't. If you haven't figured it out at this point, there's nothing you can do.
They have to figure out how to get Maxey more open shots because Maxey's the guy. Like, I mean, he's the guy that really at this point in time has the most energy. He's the youngest. He's the spryest. He's probably the most healthiest on the team. He's the guy that I'm just saying. I don't know basketball, but I see a lot in Maxey. And I see games where he goes off, and it's like
we got to remember he's 21 years old.
No, and I got that, but I just think if you have a guy that's always smiling, that you obviously
there was no smile last night.
Well, he's probably pissed off because he's not getting the ball.
Absolutely.
Well, what the frig?
Dude, there's so much to do.
I blame Doc Rivers.
It's not Doc Rivers, damn it. It's Glenn Rivers.
Okay, Glenn. Glenn freaking Rivers, okay?
Glenn Rivers. He does not
try me a river.
Doc anymore, okay? Look, we might win game 6. There's actually a really solid chance. As long as we score more points in the Heat, we probably win the game. I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. There's a good chance that we win. So far, the home team has won every game. Okay? And fairly dominant style. But that doesn't matter because then we go back to Miami for game 7. And if we put this effort out there, then we're done. So there's something else. And I don't know if I'm pulling strings here. Look, I talked about it with Scott Foster always getting thrown into a Sixers game to shut us down. They talked about it last night. Last night was the 3rd game in 5 days for the Sixers. Game 3, day off. Game 4, day off. Game 5. They get 1 day off in game 6. So it's going to be 4 in 7 days. That's fair. But the Bucks-Celtics series, they're getting 2 days off in between some of the games. The Western Conference games, they're getting 2 days off in between games. Who wrote the NBA schedule were the Sixers, who are trying to hang in there with a guy held together by Scotch tape. How are they not getting some extra? The NBA playoff takes like 8 months, but yet the Sixers are playing all their games in small spurts. I don't know if I'm pulling threads here.
You're a conspiracy theorist at heart.
I am at heart a conspiracy theorist. I am to an extent. To me, that seems bogus. And you know what's funny? Everybody says it's everybody against the Sixers. Everybody doesn't want to validate the process. Everybody doesn't want Joel Embiid to be the superstar that he is. But if that's even remotely true, then that's asinine by the NBA because Joel Embiid is one of the 2 or 3 most marketable figures in the NBA. The NBA markets Nikola Jokic, who has no personality, who takes cheap shots behind the back of people, who hasn't gotten out of the first round ever. But you got Joel Embiid, and you're doing everything you can to hold them back because you don't want to validate the process, which the process is done by so many other teams. They just don't come up with a cool marketing nickname for it. That's the reason. Because Sam Hinkie knew how to market the process and call it the process. That's why it's hated. Other teams do it. Now, I don't know. I don't know if I'm pulling strings or pulling threads there that aren't necessary to be pulled. It's not an excuse to lose by 35 last night, but it's another theory of why the league hates the Sixers.
I mean, there's got to be some validity to that. I mean, I don't think you can ignore it. But at the end of the day, the effort that the Sixers showed last night in a Game 5, Round 2 playoff game was embarrassing, to say the least. I mean, that's probably being fair by using embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
It's
100%.
a debacle. It goes against all of what we were believing in and what we thought the Sixers could do in yesterday's game, especially when we were saying that had Joel been not hurt, we could have swept. Well, now I'm starting to question that, because I think if you see a game like that, you got to say, well, maybe they just don't have that championship will. Maybe they don't have that will to win as much as we thought they did, because teams that have the will don't have games like that. Teams that
I don't like talking about next year in any sport until the season's over. But there's got to be a theory of what you're saying is true, that this team doesn't need to just make one or two minor moves. Like, this is like a near blow it up type, like outside of Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, this entire team, roster, coaches, management, everybody's got to be on the chopping block potentially.
But don't tell fans that we cannot hear that we have to go through another process here. I mean,
But we're not talking about going through a process. We're talking about not keeping James Harden. We're talking about finding a trade partner for Tobias Harris to do that, not bringing back 30. I love Danny Green, but 36-year-old Danny Green, I mean, he's running around with his hands hanging and his feet getting off the ground by this much. George Niang. I told you all how many times throughout the season, stop playing George Niang 30 minutes. He had another offer last night because he's exhausted. He's short on every shot. You need a new coach.
I mean,
it's not going to burn players out by this point of the season.
It just shows you that as much as you want to sit here, as much as people want to sit here and say that the process was a success, it really wasn't. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you got Joel Embiid out of it. That's it. Ben Simmons, who you put all your eggs in that basket, is gone. And you got James Harden for Ben Simmons, and James Harden might be one and done. That's terrible, dude. That's terrible.
The point of the process wasn't to win an NBA title. The point of the process was to acquire superstar players, and if you didn't in the draft, to acquire the assets to get them. They used their assets. They drafted Joel Embiid. They used their assets to get Tobias Harris, Jimmy Butler, and James Harden.
They got the wrong assets.
They got the wrong. So the picks. So the process worked. It just did not give us the result it was intended to give us. God, can we just for a second flip the script and just say?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask you a hypothetical.
All right.
If we had Dame Lillard on this team right now instead of James Harden, it's a hypothetical and it's fair.
I know, but I don't know if you know.
I want your answer. Would we win a series, or would we be a better team?
First off, do you not realize that Dame Lillard is my favorite NBA player that's never played for the Sixers?
I don't, but
yeah. So obviously, I'm a biased person, and I'm going to say we win the title with Dame Lillard.
But don't be that way. Be honest.
I'm a very biased Dame Lillard fan. I love Dame Lillard.
Okay, but would he be performing better than James Harden?
Would we have won the title? I have no idea.
Would he be performing better than James Harden and being more?
Absolutely, we'd be performing better. Him and Tyrese Maxey in that backcourt together instead of James Harden, because Dame Lillard hasn't shown any slowdown yet. James Harden had shown already that he was slowing down at times. So Dame Lillard hasn't shown that. So hypothetically speaking, taking the fact that he got injured in Portland this year, like if he comes to Philly,
available?
What?
Is he available?
I mean, he claims no. He said no. He wants to play his career in Portland. He wants to stay with one team. Hey, it is what it is. You got to respect the guy.
I know. I'm just saying.
I thought, actually, when you started that, I thought you were going to flip to a different thing. Because I was saying, can we flip the script and just say how great Jimmy Butler, even at his older age, is at this point? He's still playing at a superstar level. And if we would have kept him instead of Ben Simmons and Brett Brown, we might have 2 titles by now. I mean, Jimmy Butler. So the difference between Jimmy Butler and James Harden. James Harden is slowing down, but still thinks he's 25-year-old James Harden. Jimmy Butler is slowing down. But what he's done is he's adjusted his game to what he's capable of doing. And what he's capable of doing, he performs at a superstar level. He uses his smarts, not his speed. He uses his brain not his power.
I mean,
Guys,
I always love.
you have
Listen,
Jimmy Butler on this team
you
right
don't
now.
have, you don't have to tell me that because I wanted Jimmy Butler from day one. And
It's all
I think
2020 it was a bad decision.
it was the biggest mistake that this team's made.
That if you want to say that the process failed the day you got rid of Jimmy Butler.
I can't disagree because, like I said, I love Jimmy Butler, and I think
Jimmy
Butler. What Jimmy Butler has that not anyone on the Sixers that besides maybe Joel that I see is that killer instinct.
He's got heart.
He has. Well, yeah. I'm not saying that Maxey doesn't have heart because let's face it, like you said, you reminded everyone he's young.
He's 21,
and I'm not, and that's not an excuse. But my point is,
not an excuse, but at the beginning of the season,
he's not the star.
Yeah.
My point is Jimmy Butler is a star player that doesn't just put stats on the stat sheet. Jimmy Butler gives it every single day. Jimmy Butler doesn't have a game like the Sixers had last night. No. This team doesn't have a game like that if Jimmy Butler is in the lineup.
If Jimmy Butler's having a bad shooting night, it doesn't affect his defense. It doesn't affect his energy. It doesn't affect his leadership.
I agree.
Jimmy Butler, I want to continue to put some praise on him because I don't want to be coming off as just a straight homer talking straight Sixers and that's it. Jimmy Butler is a great basketball player still. And I don't even know how old Jimmy Butler is at this point.
He's a gamer. That's what I would say.
He's probably the best gamer of all time. Let me see if I can find his age real quick. He's 32. All right, so he's actually a little younger than I thought. Just he's been playing for so damn long and so hard for so long, dude. Jimmy Butler. If we keep Jimmy Butler, I won't lie. I mean, I'm trying to figure out the timeline here. We probably end up not getting Tyrese Maxey, which could be a problem. So maybe somebody else is our point guard right now. But man, we keep Jimmy Butler and you have Jimmy Butler and Joel Embiid together. We probably are winning the title. We probably win the title last year, or at least some point in the last year or two. We would be favorites. Right? It's just really frustrating about that because again, championship teams do not lose by 35. That's the thing right there. That's the whole crux of it all.
Did anybody get to hear or did Doc Rivers did Glenn Rivers have a post game presser and did he say anything stupid?
I purposely chose not to watch it. I went to bed instead. I did not want to have to throw up in my mouth when I heard whatever excuses Glenn Rivers. I'm sure he said, "Oh, we didn't come out to play well. We'll work on it and this and that." And if anybody asked him a tough question, he would have said, "Well, would you ask Popovich that question?" I don't know. Look, I don't care. Even if we come back and win this series, Glenn needs to go. It's not Glenn Doc Rivers. Remember the basketball player Big Baby Davis? His name was Glenn Big Baby Davis. I think he played for this. He was a heavy-set, chunky guy. We can call Glenn Rivers Glenn Big Baby Rivers because that's what he is, a big baby when he's asked a tough question. Dude, Glenn Rivers has shown that he's burned out, he's done, he's toast. He doesn't have it anymore. He doesn't. I will give him some respect, though. When Joel Embiid took that hard hit to the face and a foul was not called, he did take a techno. I thought he was going to get ejected, honestly. Actually, I was hoping he got ejected. Thought that might fire up the team even more. But he did go out there and stand up for his player, which is we don't see that from him much anymore. But he did storm the court. Before the play hadn't even been stopped yet. There was a play running, like the offense of the Heat had the ball and were moving up the court. And he ran out onto the court into the referee's face, which I will give him credit for that because that's something he doesn't do much of anymore. But he stood up for his guy because back to that point, it wasn't a foul, but in real time it looked like a foul. And how Joel Embiid doesn't get the respect from the referees is mind-boggling.
So I realize this is a local podcast, so we're talking about our local Sixers. But what are your thoughts on the rest of the NBA playoffs and how they've went so far? And do you have a favorite that you see like at this point in time that you think is going to come out, in the East and the West, or are you still not sold on any of these teams yet? Like, what's your thought?
I mean, there's a lot of great series going on right now. Phoenix is up 3-2 over the Dallas Mavericks. I'm a big Phoenix Suns fan. I think Phoenix Suns are a great team. You got that series being a little overshadowed right now because of the controversy of, Chris Paul's mom or wife and kid got shoved in Dallas by fans that were heckling them.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's again uncalled for. Uncalled for. But again, I always make the joke when something like that happens in another city, it must have been a Philly fan dressed up in disguise because only Philly fans do that kind of stuff. The Phoenix Suns on paper should beat the Dallas Mavericks. They probably will. Again, what did I say? What's it say at the bottom of the screen here? Championship teams do not lose by 35, right? Last night, the Dallas Mavericks lost by 30 in Game 5. So again, championship teams do not lose by 30. So the Phoenix Suns will win that series. It's a close series, but the Phoenix Suns will win that series. The other series, it's a shame that John Morant got hurt, and it did come out yesterday that it's a knee bruise.
I saw that.
Bone bruise. I don't know how they titled it exactly. I guess there's some room to talk about whether that was a dirty play by I think it was Poole. I forget Poole's first name for the Warriors. He grabbed for the ball, but really grabbed his knee and pulled his knee. Poole says it wasn't dirty. He was just grabbing for the ball and missed it. Some people are saying no. He made a dirty play there on his knee. They have no chance against the Wizards or the Warriors without John Morant. They're already down in that series 3-1, and it's going to Game 5 in Memphis. Memphis, if he's not playing, has no chance. So it'll be Warriors versus Suns in the Western Conference Finals, and that's going to be a high scoring, lights out. It's going to be Curry versus Booker. It's just going to be a hell of a series. Who wins depends on who's healthy, who's not. Probably the Suns, but that'll go 6-7 games for sure. In the Eastern Conference, the Celtics-Bucks series, is also, coming down to the wire. That series is 2-2. Game 5 tonight.
Who do you think's the better team?
On paper or what I've seen eye test the last couple of weeks?
Eye test
the last couple of weeks. I think the Celtics are playing a little bit better. Did you see that Al Horford went for 30 the other night in Game 4?
Our old friend, our old pal, Al.
The man that came to
That's
Philly.
not the angry Al. That's
no. Al freaking Horford went for 30 points the other night. It's insane. The Celtics are just in the last couple of weeks have probably played a little bit better than the Bucks, but the Bucks are a better team. I don't know. I didn't watch the last game. I don't know if Chris Middleton is back yet from his injury. Let me check the box score. The last game, Al Horford 30, 5 for 7 from 3, 11 for 14 from the field, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, a block. Holy crap! A plus 20 on the plus minus. He played 42 minutes. Oh my God. So Jason Tatum scored 30 on 24 shots. Al Horford scored 30 on 14 shots. All right, Middleton is still not back for the Bucks. That really hurts them, not having Chris Middleton out there. Chris Middleton's kind of like the Sixers' Tobias Harris. He's a max player guy. He gets max money, but he's really a third star. He's never going to be the guy. He made one All-Star game as a bench guy. He's not a superstar, but there's a lot of guys that get max deals that are really good players, and that's what Chris Middleton is.
I didn't realize that Giannis's brother is on the team.
Yeah, Giannis has 2 brothers in the NBA. One there, and I think one is in LA.
I knew that he had brothers, but I didn't realize one of them was on his own team. Does that ever happen?
So I don't know, but basically, again, this is a conspiracy theorist. The Bucks signed one brother, the Lakers signed the other brother as a negotiating tactic when he was a free agent a few years back. Because come play with your brother, and then the other team's like, well, no, we signed your other brother. I don't know if that's real or not. That's a total random conspiracy theory I came up with, like when he was a free agent a few years back there. But yeah, I figured it was just a way to try to lure Giannis to your team. But yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to Game 5 tonight, whether the Boston or Milwaukee wins that series. Look, like I said, I forget the exact number. I think it's like 84%.
Wasn't Milwaukee up 2-0?
Yeah, and then the Celtics came back. So it's playing out that series exactly.
The Sixers.
Home teams winning the game. It's going to come down to, again, game 5. Like I said, 84% of the teams, I think that's the number, that when a series in the NBA is tied 2-2, who wins game 5 wins the series 84% of the time. Numbers don't lie. I don't know. But honestly, I think whoever wins that series, the Bucks Celtics, will beat the Heat. Again, I still bring it back to this game. The fact that I don't think the Heat are a superstar team, and they still beat us by 35 points last night, just goes to show how bad the Sixers really deeply are. The Heat could beat us by 35. The Bucks could beat us by 40 at this rate. Damn, the Phoenix Suns would hang 130 on us every single night with the lack of effort the Sixers had on defense last night.
But the thing is once again, call it what you want to say, but as you said, the second that Joel went down with the eye injury, we cannot have nice things, because it is frustrating to know that we got all the way through with Embiid being healthy for the most part. You know, he had ailments, but for the most part,
he always gets hurt. He's always got something.
Yeah, but so we had him all the way to here, and he gets hurt in round 2, or in the end of round 1.
When Glenn Rivers could have happened in the game.
And we realistically can say that, the Sixers would have swept, but we really don't know that. But we'll really never know if it was this injury that affected this team. And that's what sucks. Because I want a healthy Embiid, and if they lose with a healthy Embiid with no injury, then you can realistically say, okay, well, they really were a poor team, and it was poorly constructed, whatever it was. But there's always going to be a question, is it the injury that's affecting Joel to the point that that's why we're losing the series?
Absolutely. I mean, but again, that comes down to Glenn Rivers. Glenn Rivers had no reason to have him in the game at that point. And the excuse that Glenn Rivers had gets swept under. Glenn Rivers said the reason why he had Joel and all his starters out there, well, the Raptors still had their starters out there. I don't give it. It's like, well, my friend jumped off the 30th floor of the building, so I had to jump off the 30th floor too. That's a baby excuse. That's an amateur excuse. Glenn Big Baby River. That's his name. Dude, no reason. And what you say actually scares me, because what you just said with this injury.
Yeah, it scares you on how the team is going to view it.
And they're going to make it as the excuse to run it back, to bring James Harden back, to bring Glenn Baby Rivers back, to bring Harden back, to bring it all back. They're just going to want to run. Well, if Joel doesn't get hit in the face, we sweep that series. Who knows what? I don't want those excuses. I don't want the same. It's frustrating. It really is.
Tomorrow's do or die now, baby. So it's like there's no excuse.
Yeah, I mean,
they got to put up.
Oh my God, I'm so frustrated. I need 30 seconds to compose myself here, Jason. We're gonna play a quick commercial. Everybody, hang in there. Trending in the AM will continue in 57 seconds. What's up, everybody? Phil Stiefel here. Trending in the AM. Look at this site right here, 99jersey.com. Proud supporter of all Trending in the AM shows. Make sure you check them out. Like I said, 99jersey.com. They have the best jerseys of all your favorite athletes from high school, college, movies, TV shows. You got the Kobe Bryant, Lower Merion, the Charlie Conway, Mighty Ducks. Everybody always asks where I got my Sugar Shane Falco jersey back there from the Replacements movie. 99jersey.com. I mean, Magic Johnson, Michigan State, Lonzo Ball, Jalen Rose, you name it, Russell Westbrook, you name it, they've got it on this site. Make sure you check them out, 99jersey.com. Use promo code TRENDING at checkout. It gets you 15% off right away. 99jersey.com, promo code TRENDING. Yo, support the podcast that brings you the heat every single morning. All right, we're back here Trending in the AM. I'm Phil Stiefel, your host at Bearded Knowledge, joined as always by my compadre in arms, Jason Voorhees at Mustang3651. Yo, let's not talk depressing Sixers anymore. Let's talk depressing Phillies. That'll make everything so much better. Why can't we have something positive to talk about?
It's the same reason why we can't have nice things. It's Philly. Unfortunately, that's the life that we live as a Philly sports fan. It's generally up or down. There's never middle. There's never a middle. It's always up or down. We're either good 3 teams win, we're bad. Sixers lost, and the Phillies. I know we're going to get into it, and they didn't play terrible, but they still lost. So on the stat sheet, it's still a loss.
An L is an L. A loss
Either
is
way you look at
win
it.
to win. A loss is a loss. So the Phillies lose to Seattle last night 5-4. And like you said, I mean, again, I didn't say. I mean, West Coast games. It's more box scores. It's more recaps, it's highlights, things like that. But I did see the first few innings of the game, so I was still on that high, that negative high of the Sixers loss. That I had the game on in the background as I was trying to calm down and get myself to sleep. And a few things stick out. So first off, Aaron Nola went 5 2/3, I believe it was, 5 1/3, 5 1/3. Gave up 5 runs, struck out 6 batters, gave up 9 hits. Early in the game, some of those hits, he gave up a broken back, sawed off blue pit to right field that scored a run. He gave up a swinging bunt that scored a run. That swinging bunt, though, I do have to say, I've never had to question Aaron Nola's hustle and heart, but he really didn't make an effort at it if you go and check out the play. I mean, he kind of just trotted over there like he either thought it was foul or he gave up on it before it was too late. Maybe if he hustles over there, maybe he's got to play at the plate. Maybe he's got to keeps the runner at third base. I don't know, but it was a really lackadaisical effort. But the whole thing of the game will come down to the play in that second inning, I believe it was, second or third inning, when the error happened at first base. I've got a video queued up here. I don't know if it'll work or not. And just like every other time I play a video, it'll probably get our show dinged or something like that. But I'm going to play it anyway for those that are watching live. There's a play. I'm going to set it up first. Joe Girardi gets ejected on this play. Basically, hard line drive. Gene Segura makes a diving catch, tries to throw to first base. Rhys Hoskins has to reach for the wide throw, catches the ball. It's an out, but the ball gets knocked out of Rhys Hoskins' hand by the runner, goes off into the field, a run scores. They call the runner safe, and Joe Girardi gets thrown out because he's arguing he wasn't given enough time to challenge the play. But I don't think I've called him Sleepy Joe Girardi for weeks now. I'm not sure that this looks like Sleepy Joe Girardi. We got a Seattle Mariners fan checking in here. I would love to know if he thinks this was a bad play. I don't know. This is clearly an out, Jason. So let me click play here and watch it here. I got the volume muted on it. All right, ground ball. Great play by Gene Segura. Off bounds throw, out. And then he gets knocked out. Dude, that was in his glove for clearly a second here. Now, they're going to replay this a few times in this video. This video is about a minute and a half long. So just watch this second replay here. As you can see, it's in his glove. 1.5. That's almost 2 seconds. Clearly had control of the ball there. Clearly had control of the ball. Foot on the base. Has it.
Out.
It's clearly out. And now this guy, this is the crew chief. He's like, I don't care. It's basically what he's saying. Basically tell him, go back to the dugout.
Sleepy Joe is not Sleepy Joe.
Wait. He gets more fired up here. I mean, you can see, we don't see this from Joe Girardi much anymore. You still got Rhys Hoskins on the other side arguing too.
Well, I love it.
I do love this, actually. But this scored a third run in the game. We lost 5-4. This is the third run right here. This run changed the complexity of the game. More pitches for Aaron Nola. Another run. Changed everything.
We've seen this a lot, actually, in this year.
He's not done.
With this year's Phillies team, we've seen a lot.
This umpire is egging Joe Girardi on. Why throw your hands up as the umpire? A professional umpire doesn't throw his hands up. A real professional umpire walks away.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I hate to use excuses of like refs and umpires in games because at the end of the day, I agree, and it does change the complexion of the game, especially at that point in time. I've seen this quite often with the Phillies this year, where they've had, some kind of breakdown after like an error or a bad call, and it ends up, defeating the team. Now, I will say, like you said, if Joe Girardi's doing that from day one,
Absolutely.
and the team's playing this bad, then maybe I'm not so sure that I'm blaming Joe, but it's been his lack of that. The fact that he doesn't have any kind of emotion, and the fact that he's made so many mistakes as far as with the pitching, his decision making. If Joe Girardi just did that, what he did last night on a daily basis, or at least continually, I think many of us would have a different attitude about the guy, because I do think there's something to be said. Like, you can blame a manager to a certain extent, but you also have to blame the players. And with this
Absolutely.
team, there's a lot of guys underperforming. Now, I will say one guy that's not underperforming is Bryce Harper, who, if you haven't noticed lately, is extremely hot. Now, yeah, he's not hitting home runs necessarily, but he's doing what he did last year. He started it earlier, because remember, last year he didn't go on his tear until the second half of the season. He's already rounding in the Bryce Harper form at this point. So that's, you want to look for positives, right? In a bunch of negatives. Bryce Harper is doing it all, and he's stealing bases. He stole another base last night. I think that was his 6th stolen base. He quietly is a guy that can actually, steal a couple bags here and there too. He's not just a home run hitter.
Right.
For
Yeah.
folks that say that. So I'm just,
Look,
I'm trying to.
I look at that play though, and what it did. So first off, Joe Girardi getting fired up like that, fired up the team. I mean, they hit 3 home runs after that. They scored 4 runs after that against a very good, very game Robbie Ray. He's a really good professional pitcher. Been in the league for a long time. Made a lot of money in this league. Pitched in some high pressure situations. So, you go up against a really strong major league caliber pitcher. That error scored a run. That error added probably 5 to 10 pitches to Aaron Nola's pitch count. He fell apart in the 6th inning. Maybe if he had 5 or 6 less pitches, maybe he doesn't fall apart in the 6th inning there. Maybe, who knows? There's so many things that came out of that. But maybe it did fire up the Phillies a little bit. Maybe this is the turning point. Now, we're trying to grasp some straws here that is going to turn this team around, and we're just going to be let down again when we face 4 against the Dodgers this weekend. But, I don't know. I want to go back to this. And look, there's a rule, whatever it is, 20 seconds you have to challenge a play. You got to have a rule like that, because you can't be waiting 5 minutes to challenge a play. You're trying to speed the game up, not slow it down. I get all that. But there's got to be a situation put into place for that, where you've got people in some city watching all the games at once. You got people working where you call up to check the replays, where someone just buzzes down and be like, yo, you guys messed up there. We don't even need a challenge. Just a buzzer on the side of the crew chief. Oh, I got buzzed. You pull out the wall. That was okay. You change the play. You don't even need to challenge it. Your rule that was put in place, while in good intention, is a flawed rule, because you shouldn't even need replay in any sports. There should just be a 5th official, a 5th umpire, a 5th referee in all sports, that their sole job is just to be watching the replay monitor. They could be in the stadium, and they have a direct communication with whoever the lead is on the court, field, wherever, on the ice, and they just buzz them down. Pull out the walkie-talkie. Okay, we change it. It's so simple. You don't even need instant replay. You just need somebody that's an impartial off the field that's making that call. That's all. And that's what frustrates me, because you got this rule in place to speed up the game, but the rule put in place literally flipped the script of the game last night.
One thing I'm noticing? A frustrated Phil is a fired up Phil. And I like that for show purposes.
Because I'm using all my energy now. I'm putting all my energy out there. Now I got to push through a 12-hour day at work, and I'm going to have no energy left for the pizza shop today.
But I like it. It's good for the show.
It's good for the show. It's not good for my blood pressure. It's not good for my next 12 hours. It causes me to drink. Not yet. This is just water, guys. Just water, okay? Look, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is with replay in all of sports.
Well, I agree with you that replay. Dude, don't get me started. Please do not get me started today on Major League Baseball.
Right.
Okay.
You at least understand that the point is that replay is important, but the rules they put in place with replay in all sports,
I agree.
Football, in the NBA, you get one replay the entire game.
That play is a perfect example of how stupid it is to have replay if you're not going to use it. Because obviously, we all, even Seattle fans, would have to admit that was an out. But yet it wasn't overturned. So that's a joke, and it is a joke in my opinion, and that's fine. But let's move past the refs. Okay, let's look at the Phillies perspective. Where do we go from here? So obviously, you and I have been very staunch, supporters of getting rid of Joe Girardi. Mm-hmm. Is changing a manager per se, especially at this point in time, going to change the results on the field? Because I'm looking at some of these guys and some of their effort, and I don't know if any manager could really change that. And you mentioned it with Aaron Nola. There's just quite a few guys on this team that it is frustrating that they don't follow the leader. Like Bryce Harper hustles 24/7. Nick Castellanos, love the guy. I mean, he's perfect for Philly. Let's face it. We hit a home run with him. I'm not so sure about it with Schwarber yet because he doesn't show me that same energy. Now, he could go on a run. And listen, maybe I'm very tough on Schwarber because I just think that he's a guy that, I don't want to use the term overrated, but in my opinion, he is overrated. I don't think Schwarber is exactly the type of player that this team needs. When you have a bunch of guys, like I said, I've talked about it ad nauseum till I'm blue in the face about how this roster is constructed. There's no balance. It's all or nothing. And that is a problem because you're going to see the ebbs and flows and you don't see any consistency on a daily basis. You're not going to have 5 or 6 game win streaks because you have guys. Look, the slump bug has now hit JT Realmuto. He was batting
2 days off this year.
2.5 weeks ago, he was batting 300. He's now down to 255. I'm just saying, it's frustrating to me that you can't get any guys on a tear at the same time. Like, we're all waiting for the fivesome, let's call it, of JT, Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber, and Hoskins to go off all together at once. And it's, to me, I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Right.
At this point. I mean, we're into May now. I mean, I know it's still early, but it's frustrating to me that we had all these high expectations and this team just keeps sinking further and further into the abyss. The Mets won again last night, dude. The Mets won again.
What does that put, a 7.5 out now?
And they were losing.
10 games out of first place by the end of this month at this trajectory.
It's frustrating.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because, it's hindsight. Hindsight's always 20/20. But I read an interesting article this morning. I forget who wrote it. I think it was on Section 215. Good guys over there. Because, we're going up against Seattle, J.P. Crawford, former Phillies prospect. Look, I'm a guy that's okay with trading prospects. Prospects are that. They're just prospects. Okay, you never know. In the 2008 to 2011 stretch, we traded a lot of prospects that were untouchable that didn't pan out. So that's fine. We traded J.P. Crawford just as much to get rid of Carlos Santana and that albatross of a contract we had given him. Okay? But the domino effect of trading J.P. Crawford it's insane. Didi Gregorius isn't here with an albatross contract if we have J.P. Crawford. J.P. Crawford's hitting 340. He's hitting in the 3 hole for the Mariners right now. He was 0 for last night. But he's hitting 340. Okay? Didi Gregorius, probably not a Philly. We get Gene Segura in that trade. Gene Segura's okay. But all that money we saved from Carlos Santana, we're just giving it to Gene Segura anyway. So he's kind of he's a good player. He's never going to be the best player. He's never going to be the worst player. Makes some boneheaded plays. He's a good hit. He is what he is. Scott Kingery would have been able to stay at second base and not become a super utility guy if you don't bring in Gene Segura to play second base. It's just the domino effect. Maybe Scott Kingery would have still fallen apart at some point, but if you keep him at second base where he belongs, who knows? The domino effect of trading J.P. Crawford. Not just that J.P. Crawford has turned into finally a really good baseball player. Not just that reason, but the domino effect of the cause and effect. It's insane to think about all the differences that could have happened if we don't make that trade.
I mean, I think it signals the major flaw that we consistently say surrounds this team like a black cloud, and that's the fact that their farm system is just a joke. And unfortunately, the very few prospects that they get that actually have something to give, they get rid of. Mm-hmm. And the ones that they should get rid of, they keep too long, a la Scott Kingery. Like, Scott Kingery still in the system. I don't know, man. I'm just you're right. The one guy that we haven't really talked about a lot because he's obviously we've been so focused on the roster now is Mickey Moniak. And what happens if he doesn't get hurt and he has that hot spring? Is he good enough to help this team? I don't know, because let's face it, he is what he is. Like, we just don't have a lot of assets at this point to really better this team. The only way to better the team is to keep going over the tax. That's where we're really at. And you can't really blame John because he did do it this year for the first time ever. Yeah. It's not John Middleton's fault at this point. If anybody's fault, it's obviously the manager, but I blame a lot of the players. Are some of these guys, like you said, not really gamers. Like Aaron Nola, I know we're constantly up or down on the guy, and there's every day.
I'm always consistent on the guy.
But you talked about his effort last night on a play. Like, I know it's a small thing, but is it really a small thing?
No.
Does that show you the mentality of this team? Yeah. They just have no desire. There's no I don't see the follow the leader approach. Like, Nick Castellanos is busting it. He is. Yeah. And Harper is, but who else is? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm at the point now with the Phillies where
the world is falling apart. But tonight, well, it's because they play at 3:40 today. They're a West Coast day game, which means perfect 3:40. I can watch it at the shop. I can have it on all afternoon at the shop. But we're going bullpen today. Bailey Falter is our starter today. What's his name? Falter? Is that it? Bailey? I don't know. Whatever the hell his name is. He's starting for us. Which means we're going to win 17-1 or something like that. The starting pitcher for the Mariners tonight is Logan Gilbert, okay? And if you don't know, he's given up only 4 earned runs in his last 5 starts. So, offense that's inconsistent, going up against a pitcher that's lights out, means we probably score 17 runs today, right? That's the law of averages, right? That's the way it works for Philly. And tomorrow we'll be talking about how great the Phillies are, and they're back, baby. But odds are, realistically, a bullpen game for the Phillies going up against a stud starting pitcher. It's not looking positive today. Do we get swept by Seattle today?
And that's the other frustrating thing for me. I'm sorry, I'm going to go back at it. Seattle has like 3 guys like Logan Gilbert that they brought up out of their system, and they're all performing well. Now, listen, I know that's a rarity, but the Phillies can't say that. So when a Zach Wheeler is out on an IL, if you're Seattle, I would bring up a Logan Gilbert. The Mets, they lose Jake DeGrom. They bring up Tyler McGill, and they haven't missed a step. Yeah. The Phillies don't have that. That's the issue.
Maybe they're starting to groom them.
We can say how good Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola are. And they are. They're good. They're good pitchers. They're solid. Zach Wheeler's an ace. We don't have anything in our farm system completely close to any of these teams. I see teams that suck that bring up guys that are better than the Phillies' third starter. That's the problem.
I will say, there are 2 or 3 pitchers now in single A ball. I mean, they're still 3 years away. But Andrew Painter is pitching lights out in Clearwater right now. I mean, so maybe there's a glimmer of hope, but not for this year. Not
3
for
years
next
from now,
year.
Andrew
Maybe
Painter will
3
be
years from now.
gone. 3 years
Yeah.
from now, Dabrowski will trade him for some bum over the hill guy. Like, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry to be negative.
Do the Phillies win today?
No, they're going to lose.
Do you know? So they're 5 losses in their last 6 games. It's only been 6 games since that Rocky sweep ended.
They're going to lose.
It was literally like a week and a half ago, and it feels like it was like 10 years ago that we swept the Rockies.
Because that Mets loss, that one loss felt like 20 losses.
Exactly. Look, if they lose today, it's 5 in a row, 6 of their last 7. Then they go to play the Dodgers, first place Dodgers for 4. Dude, I'm saying it. The end of this month. It might not even take the end of the month. It might be the end of next week. 10 games out of first place, guys. It's going to happen.
But Dombrowski said Girardi's not on the hot seat.
He's got to say it, but I don't buy it. I believe if we fall 10 games out before this month's over, he's gone. The day we hit 10 games out, he's gone.
We're going to save this receipt and come back to this because I believe you.
Save my receipts. I don't care. I don't care. I'm fired up today. I got to find a way. I was just telling myself I got to start drinking healthier, less caffeine, more water. And now I'm going to eat like 7 bottles of coffee today. I've just used all my daily energy in an hour and 1 minute. Man. Tomorrow, guys, stay tuned. Chris Franklin from NJ.com. We're bringing him on to talk Eagles. We'll also talk Phillies. We'll also talk Sixers. But we're going to bring the Eagles back into the conversation tomorrow. Make sure you stay tapped in right here on DSM Media to Trending in the AM. Make sure you're sharing the show out. Make sure you're joining the fastest growing morning show there is in the Philadelphia market. Make sure if you can't watch us, you plug us into your Apple CarPlay, your Google CarPlay. You can listen to us in the car.
Just like Mark with a C.
Yeah, Mark with a C plugs us in, but he listens on the way to work. You can do that. The more people that watch this show, the better. The more that share it out, the better. What'll happen is if I get this show a little bit bigger, we might go an hour and a half. We might go 2 hours. We can start getting some sponsors. We can make this the biggest morning show there is. Turn the dial down. Make sure you listen to Trending the AM. I am Phil Seif, your host at Beard and Knowledge. Make sure you shoot me a follow. My main compadre, Jason Voorhees, at Mustang3651. He will be back tomorrow. I will be back tomorrow. Chris Franklin will be in the house on the I Have No Sponsor hotline. You all have a great day. Yo, I'm done with Sixers and whatever and ring the bell and all that. It's back to Go Birds, baby.
Fly, Eagles, fly.